Land reforms, land use policy and planning.
Land is key asset for the rural and urban poor that provides an important foundation for economic and social development. Sound property rights in and equitable access to land can also offer the potential to help empower the rural and urban poor to adjust to the challenges posed by recent trends of globalization. Several weaknesses in land use policy, administration and management adversely affect the efficiency of land markets and thus the country's economic growth potential and equity. It identifies ways in which actions by the community or the government can help to reduce insecurity. These approaches can provide a basis for more effective land utilization that will be critical for the promotion of growth and the reduction of poverty. The fact that in many countries the current land ownership distribution has its origins in discriminatory policies rather than in market forces has long provided a justification for adopting policies aimed at land reform. The record of such policies is mixed. Land reforms have been very successful in Asia, Japan, the Republic of Korea, Taiwan, province of China, and positive impacts have been reported from some African countries such as Kenya and Zimbabwe in the early phases of their post-independence land reforms. King 1977, Gunning et al. 2000, Jian and Kim 2000. At the same time, land reforms in Latin America failed to live up to their objectives and remain incomplete in many respects. De Janry and Sadulet 1989. Let us explore the various land reforms, policies and planning from the following headings. Land reforms, land use policy, land planning for agriculture, current and future phase in Indian land reforms. Emergence of land policy in India.
Land reforms. Due to differences in land types, farming methods, the history of land acquisition, general social and economic conditions and political aims, the definition of land reform is not easy. Land reform is generally accepted to mean the redistribution of property or rights in land for the benefit of the landless, tenants and farm labourers. This is a narrow definition, reducing land reform to its simplest element. Land reform pertains to the remodeling of tenure rights and the redistribution of land in directions consistent with the political imperatives underlying the reform. Land reform measures. There is a wide variation in the objectives, circumstances and conduct of land reform. Economic arguments favouring land redistribution focus on the diseconomies of large-scale enterprises and on the need to increase returns to land. When growing landlessness, chronic indebtedness and eviction of tenants threaten stability, the state has often intervened to regulate ownership rights, sometimes with the tacit agreement of landowners seeking to prevent land invasions. Non-market versus market-based land reform. Economic reform programs have generated increasing interest in so-called market-based land reforms. However, in countries where tenants have had to compensate landowners at near market prices, productivity gains have been modest. Approaches to land reform. In this century, redistributive land reform has taken different forms and met with varying success in terms of coverage and impact on productivity and income. Land reform in Asia and the Middle East. Reforms in East Asia have been comprehensive, creating a class of independent property owning peasants and alleviating poverty and landlessness. In Japan, land reform was enforced by US occupation forces as a means of breaking the power of large landowners, pillars of the militaristic class. Resident landlords were entitled to retain only about 1 hectare. In East Asia, land reform usually entailed the transfer of rights to tenants without breaking up operational holdings. Reforms covering landlord tenancies in the Middle East, example Iran, Egypt and Iraq, and India, example Kerala state, followed a similar pattern. Attempts to implement land for the tiller reforms in the Philippines met with mixed results for the same reasons. With the exception of the Philippines, almost no attempt has been made in the East Asia to subdivide plantations for distribution to laborers. Plantations remained largely unchanged either as private enterprises, often foreign-owned, or as state enterprises when confiscated from foreign firms, example Indonesia and Sri Lanka. Latin America. Unlike Europe and Asia, where there has been a broad tradition of small farm ownership, in Latin America, the monopoly of land ownership stemmed from colonial rule. From 1910 to 1990, Latin American countries attempted an enormous variety of land reforms. Redistributive reforms in Mexico, Bolivia, and Chile focused on the transformation of semi-feudal estates, haciendas, based on bonded labor, corvée labor and labor tenants into capitalist estates employing wage labor, land-owning family farms and free peasant farms. Africa. As in Latin America, land reform in African countries has been concerned with correcting the imbalance of agricultural land ownership by the minority white settler population. About 50% of the agricultural land in both Namibia and Zimbabwe and over 80% in South Africa at the transfer of power to the majority. Soviet Union and Eastern Europe. Although followed by collectivization, land reform in Russia initially took place as a result of peasant mobilization against landlords. In the former communist bloc, land reform has a mixture of objectives: economic efficiency and the need to move to a market economy. To raise revenue from private property, the restitution of rights to former owners that were expropriated by the state, and social justice for farm workers. Land use policy. Changes in agricultural, agri-environmental, land use and regional policies and many non-policy factors such as climate change, demographic change and globalization increasingly affect land use and management choices. Land use policy provides an alternative mechanism for influencing agricultural land use. Typically, land use policy has not been seen as a key factor in agriculture. While there are a few forms of land use policy that employ financial incentives to alter the relative returns to farmers from agriculture and other uses, in most countries the majority of land use policy uses the regulatory power of government to compel landowners to follow particular actions. In this sense, most land use policy is not market-based. Land use policy influences agricultural land use in two distinct ways. The first and most common way is through either imposing restrictions on farmers' behavior or encouraging specific actions. The second type of policy is designed to influence land use at a larger scale, that is, to affect decisions to either bring land into farming or remove land from farming. Land policy aims to achieve certain objectives relating to the security and distribution of land rights, land use and land management, and access to land, including the forms of tenure under which it is held. A land use policy is essentially an expression of the government's perception of the direction to be taken on major issues related to land use and the proposed allocation of the national land resources over a fixed period of time. It has a production and conservation component. A sound national land use policy is effectively part of the enabling environment and should cover all uses of land. To achieve the policy objective of sustainable production and conservation of natural resources, government should pursue strategies which actively promote forms of land use which are both attractive to the people and sustainable in terms of their impacts on land resources. By developing the national land use policies through a participatory, integrated and iterative process, there is a much greater likelihood of achieving this. Population growth, economic development and urbanization are driving demands for food, water, energy and raw materials. The continued shift in human diet from cereal to animal products requiring a higher input in land and water resources and the recent move towards biofuels add to the demand for farm production, all of this with implications for land uses. As for any form of agriculture, expanded biofuel production may threaten land and water resources as well as biodiversity, and appropriate policy measures are required to minimize possible negative effects. The term land use policy refers to the set of rules and regulations that directly influence the use of farmland, whether they are implemented by national or subnational governments. From the rural development perspective, policy concerns with changes in the use of farmland are fivefold. Adverse environmental impacts on landscape provision, wildlife habitat and the preservation of ecosystems stemming from the abandonment of farmland in some rural areas of high nature value. Knock-on economic effects of the abandonment or long-term retirement of farmland influencing the socio-economic viability of such rural areas. Risks to the provision of farmland-based rural amenities, particularly in those rural areas where such amenities are instrumental for their sustainable development. Concern with the alternative uses of farmland and water in the encouragement of environmentally sustainable rural development and alternative sources of income and employment in rural areas. And urban sprawl in cases where farmland is lost to urban uses. One role of policies is to narrow the divergence between privately and socially desirable outcomes. Land planning for agriculture. Land use or land resources planning is a systematic and iterative procedure carried out in order to create an enabling environment for sustainable development of land resources which meets people's needs and demands. It assesses the physical, socio-economic, institutional and legal potentials and constraints with respect to an optimal and sustainable use of land resources, and empowers people to make decisions about how to allocate those resources. These are matched through a multiple goal analysis and assessment of the intrinsic value of the various environmental and natural resources of the land unit. The result is an indication of a preferred future land use or combination of uses. through a negotiation process with all stakeholders, the outcome is improved. Agreed decisions on the concrete allocation of land for specific uses or non-uses through legal and administrative measures, which will lead eventually to implementation of the plan. Land use planning can be applied at three broad levels: national, district, and local. These are not necessarily sequential but correspond to the levels of government at which decisions about land use are taken. Different kinds of decisions are taken at each level, where the methods of planning and kinds of plan also differ. However, at each level, there is need for a land use strategy, policies that indicate planning priorities, projects that tackle these priorities, and operational planning to get the work done. At the national level, planning is concerned with national goals and the allocation of resources. In many cases, national land use planning does not involve the actual allocation of land for different uses, but the establishment of priorities for district level projects. A national land use plan may cover land use policy, balancing the competing demands for land among different sectors of the economy, food production, export crops, tourism, wildlife conservation, housing and public amenities, roads, industry. National development plans and budget, project identification and the allocation of resources for development. Coordination of sectoral agencies involved in land use, legislation on such subjects as land tenure, forest clearance and water rights. Land use planning at the district level. District level refers not necessarily to administrative districts but also to land areas that fall between national and local levels. Development projects are often at this level, where planning first comes to grips with the diversity of the land and its suitability to meet project goals. When planning is initiated nationally, national priorities have to be translated into local plans. Conflicts between national and local interests will have to be resolved. The kinds of issues tackled at this stage include the sitting of developments such as new settlements, forest plantations and irrigation schemes, the need for improved infrastructure such as water supply, roads and marketing facilities, the development of management guidelines for improved kinds of land use on each type of land. Land use planning at the local level. The local planning unit may be the village, a group of villages or a small water catchment. At this level, it is easiest to fit the plan to the people, making use of local people's knowledge and contributions. Where planning is initiated at the district level, the program of work to implement changes in land use or management has to be carried out locally. Alternatively, this may be the first level of planning with its priorities drawn up by the local people. Local level planning is about getting things done on particular areas of land, what shall be done, where and when, and who will be responsible. Emergence of land policy in India. Land problems in India continue to attract equal attention from policy makers and academics. The renewed interest in land issues stems from the perceived impact of liberalization and opening up the economy. Among the issues under renewed focus, legalizing tenancy, revising the ceiling limits, quality of land, meeting the challenge of minuscule holdings that are a consequence of marginalization and land administration are dominating the debate. These issues have assumed greater importance in the current economic transition in rural areas. Land policy in India has undergone broadly 4 phases since independence. The first and longest phase, 1950 to 1972, consisted of land reforms that included 3 major efforts: abolition of the intermediaries, tenancy reform and the redistribution of land using land ceilings. The second phase, 1972 to 1985, shifted attention to bringing uncultivated land under cultivation. The third phase, 1985 to 1995, increased attention towards water and soil conservation through the waste shed development, drought-prone area development (DPAP) and desert area development programs (DADP). A central government wasteland development agency was established to focus on wasteland and degraded land. The fourth and current phase of policy, 1995 onwards, centers on debates about the necessity to continue with land legislation and efforts to improve land revenue administration and in particular clarity in land records. The Planning Commission has prepared a series of 5-year plans since 1951. Land policy has been one of the important components incorporated in all the plans. The plan aimed to reduce disparities in income and wealth, to eliminate exploitation and to provide security to tenants, as well as to achieve social transformation through equality of status and an opportunity for different sections of the population to participate in development initiatives. An overview of changes in the land policy as reflected through the various plan documents is given in Table 1. Although focus and emphasis on land policy has changed during the last 50 years, the core issues continue to revolve around a just distribution of land resources. Land reforms predominated the land policy issues during the first 3 decades after independence. Current and future phase in Indian land reforms. Independent departments at federal and state government levels handle land and agricultural administration. The Department of Land Resources at the central level also issues guidelines for strengthening land revenue administration and updating land records. It has recently initiated a large-scale program for computerizing land records. The department has also initiated various activities focused on wasteland, drought-prone areas, desert development, integrated wasteland development, technology development, extension and training, investment promotion and support for NGOs or voluntary organizations for such activities. It is now accepted in India that the recording of land rights and their periodic updating is an essential prerequisite for an effective land policy. During the 7th plan period, 1997 to 98, a centrally sponsored scheme on computerization of land records (CLR) was introduced with 100% financial assistance from the central government for pilot projects in a few selected districts: Gulbarga in Karnataka, Rangareddy in Andhra Pradesh, Sonitpur in Assam, Gandhinagar in Gujarat, Morena in Madhya Pradesh, Wardha in Maharashtra, Mayurbhanj in Orissa, and Dungarpur in Rajasthan. The main objectives of the scheme were to computerize ownership and plot-wise details for issue of timely and accurate copy of the records of rights to the landowners, achieve low-cost, easily reproducible storage media for reliable and long-term preservation of land records, provide fast and efficient retrieval of textual and graphical information, create a land information system (LIS) and database for the agricultural census. In recent years, the government's land policy interventions have focused on the correction and computerization of land records, improving the land survey process and improving land quality through the reclamation of degraded wasteland and forests. Land reform implementation is almost thinning out as a priority. In fact, the important policy discussions now center on whether certain land reform interventions should be reversed, particularly whether the land ceilings should be increased and whether tenancy restrictions should be liberalized. Marginalization of land holdings and land administration are also of major concern. Policy option being actively discussed in a country-wide debate is the desirability of liberalizing the current restrictions, sometimes prohibitions, on agricultural tenancy. The argument that liberalizing tenancy restrictions will have a pro-poor impact has gained ground. It is felt that a majority of the beneficiaries from tenancy liberalization will be small and marginal farmers. Legalizing tenancy will also help to bring the small and marginal tenants with the ambit of institutional credit. It is also expected that opening the lease market will attract much needed private investment in agriculture. Interestingly, the National Commission on Agriculture referred in 1976 to the need for new amendments in tenancy reform to overcome the problems of concealed tenancy as well as reverse tenancy. Leasing in land belonging to the disempowered people should be regulated with a proper intervening authority to help protect them from unscrupulous dealings.
Every year, 19.5 million hectares of agricultural land is converted to spreading urban centers and industrial developments, often forcing farmers onto shrinking and more marginal lands. The uncontrolled expansion of human settlements constitutes a challenge for sustainable land planning and management. Several weaknesses in land use policy, administration and management adversely affect the efficiency of land markets and thus the country's economic growth potential and equity. It defines ways in which actions by the community or the government can help to reduce insecurity. Land reform and agrarian reforms have become synonymous, indicating that reform programs have become more comprehensive and encompass much more than the reform of land tenure or land distribution. There is need for a land use strategy, policies that indicate planning priorities, projects that tackle priorities, and operational planning to get the work done. Land use policy provide an alternative mechanism for influencing agricultural land use. While there are a few forms of land use policy that employ financial incentive to alter the relative returns to farmers from agriculture and other uses, in most countries the majority of land use policy uses regulatory power of government to compel landowners to follow particular actions. In this sense, most land use policy is not market based.